Hello and welcome to the Be Formless Flow Driven CEO and VC podcast, where we are reshaping life, leadership, business, and investing from the inside out. And you will notice, listeners, I am getting a bit boppy at the start of the pods at the moment because we do have this wonderful 5-second countdown, and here Justin and I are staring at each other. I am welcoming to the show Justin Mukiwa Reynolds, and I haven't asked you what the Mukiwa in the middle is, Justin. So let's
Oh, right. I hadn't
start there.
realized that
Welcome to the
had
show,
come up.
Justin.
Thank you.
Have I
Very,
put you
very
on the
good to be here.
spot? Yeah, no, thank you. Did I put you on the spot then with like calling out the middle when your name pops up?
No, I just hadn't realized it had come up. I think that's that sort of came up automatically. No, not at all. Very proud of
Okay.
my nickname.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, I was just
What
matching
is?
you.
Well, can you tell us a bit about the
Yeah,
nickname?
B Murray.
You can't just. Yeah. So what? How did you? How's your nickname come about? What is it? Can you share with us what your nickname? What
Yeah,
you're
certainly.
proud of about your nickname?
Yeah, so it's a Shona name. My distant family link, very good through my aunt, was an author and wrote a book about Zimbabwe and the civil war in Zimbabwe, and it was called Mukiwa. And Mukiwa is a Shona name for sort of white boy, basically. And they have similar names all over the world. In the Chinese have names, Singapore, etc., for white people. So Mukiwa means white boy. And I was just named it at school because this family friend wrote this book called Mukiwa, and they knew the link to me. So it became my nickname at school. And I just sort of kept it on because I think it's certainly in today's world, it sort of flies in the face of a lot of identity politics, which I quite like doing. People get, sometimes when they ask me, what is it? And I give the answer, people get quite uncomfortable. And they don't really know why they're getting uncomfortable, which I quite like. Yeah.
Yeah. And you are quite
it's a
controversial, Sorry, there's a little delay. That's okay, though. Can you hear me now?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. You continue, and then we'll come back to getting into it.
Well, I was just going to say it's a Shona name for white men or white boys. That's what Mukiwa is.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you so much for that. So you are Zimbabwe born and bred. Though you do reside in London, and it's I think we said it's like 10 a.m. in the morning in the UK. Is the sun shining today? Is it shiny, gloomy? What's the vibe like today?
Yeah, it's
shiny. Good.
It's a good spring, good morning in the UK. Has been for about,
I love it.
About a week. Yeah.
Very good. And I was just saying before to the listeners, when I met with Justin the other week, we had a pre-pod connect, and I'm doing that with all my guests now. So just have a quick little speed date. And, when I was talking to Justin, he was quite contrarian with his thoughts and his views. And I think we're going to have that conversation today. So let's get on into it. Justin is a venture builder. Justin Reynolds, venture builder, scaling ventures for the capital and environmental markets. Entrepreneur, operates at the intersection of venture, capital, and real-world demand, building and scaling ventures with a focus on long-term alignment rather than just speed. And boy, oh boy, are we in just a speedy environment at the moment. You're a serial entrepreneur, as I mentioned, and you've led companies through the full cycle from startup to international scale and exit, and bringing a hands-on execution-led approach grounded in operational reality. As an investor and builder of patient capital models, and we'll have to go into that, Justin, a little bit in a second. Justin challenges traditional venture assumptions, shifting away from speculative growth towards a demand-led approach. Your model starts not with capital, it instead starts with the customer. And that's identifying the real problems, validating demand, and then building solutions with capital, I'm going to say conscious capital, aligned to that foundation. And this ultimately reframes venture from velocity-driven to outcome-driven, prioritizing resilience, alignment, and companies built to endure rather than simply scale. It'd be good to get to tell us a little bit about your whole philosophy, if you like, Justin, because we are in this really fast-paced world, and it's kind of my question at the moment is how many of these businesses that are popping up are going to last a distance? or are they going to be one hit wonders? And so I'd love to get your view on kind of what you're seeing in totality at the moment. I'll hand it over to you.
That sort of sustainable business, in a sense, has been something that I've been sort of just brought up with, really. And again, I suppose it goes back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier on about Mukiwa, and then the name of the company, which is called Tashinga, which is another Shona word for built on rock, so i.e. sort of solid foundations. But I think it really dawned on me. Oh, well, I grew up in a family. My father was an entrepreneur through business. My mum was through education, so we kind of had it around the family. But almost everyone in Africa, because of the nature of government and the economies, and that almost everyone in Africa is an entrepreneur in some shape or form, because you kind of have to be.
Mm,
And I think I first really sort of understood it is when I got asked to help build not that this was my skill set, but I got asked to build a telephone system for the new World Bank office in Harare. And that was the first time I kind of drove to work. I was 18 years old, or I just finished school. And on the way, there were people selling breakfast on the side of the road. And I used to stop. I used to leave about 20 minutes early and stop and buy breakfast from them and chat with them. And just the conversations you'd have with these guys, you really learned a lot about business and how they were dealing with their supply chains and their,
yeah.
trying to get their customers. And these are just single people just trying to make a living selling people going to work breakfast. And the biggest thing, that the worry that they always had was, will I still be here tomorrow? What happens if I get ill? All of these type of issues. So, that's always sort of been in the back of my mind. And the other one, I guess, which comes to the environmental ventures that we're building, is again through Father, but also the World Bank. And that, you'd see a lot of aid being spent in countries like Zimbabwe. And some of it did some good, but very little of it did any long-term good. It was very
Mm,
transactional in its nature. It didn't really have much of a sustainability, long-term economic sustainability
impact.
in mind, and a lot of it was wasted, and wasted in many different ways.
Mm,
Not in the sort of traditional way of waste, but just waste in, they'd buy very expensive 4x4 cars, which were not necessarily needed, and things like that. But also, they weren't necessarily fixing the actual problem. And a good example that I have of that, where I sort of really came home to me, was through an organization called Rally International, which was a great organization started by Sir Walter Raleigh many years ago. But they built boreholes in a place called Wangi in Zimbabwe, for all the right reasons. The people, specifically the villagers, predominantly the women and the children, would walk quite a long distance to rivers to collect water. So Rally International, backed by a couple of mainly Nordic aid agencies, quite rightly decided that they needed boreholes to be able to have water in their village. But what they hadn't quite worked out was that whilst it was needed, it wasn't top of their list of requirements. So they built these boreholes, which worked very well. And you go back about 6 months later, and the borehole's not working. And the reason it's not working is because the villagers have taken material from the borehole to fix their roofs, to stop them from leaking, and to do other
oh
things that
my
were more
gosh.
important than, walking to the river to collect water. And that again just sort of drove home how, if you're going to do something, make sure that you are fixing the actual problem, not the problem that you think you need to fix, or the problem that you want to
Yeah.
fix to do it. And that's really sort of what drove me to kind of where I am today, or those sort of early learnings in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, it's fascinating because there's a couple of things that have come up for me, like that, just understanding your customer, like it's so important. And you can go and build and they will come. And it's like, or what's the saying? Build and they will come, or build and they will follow. It's actually understanding the customer. And like you say, solving the problem that is fundamentally what's required to be solved. And yet we still today don't always understand our customer needs. We invest all this money, like you talk about material and, you know, it is from a sustainability perspective, from an economical perspective, etc. Like that would have cost a lot of money to build those bores, and yet it didn't solve the problem with actually what was needed by the community and the people that were living there. And so instead they've solved a problem themselves by grabbing what was available and fixing everything else. But there's still then the bigger problem that remains and doubles the costs as well. Like it's just interesting that do you still see that happening now? Like, is that like part of your mission and, with Dashunga and what you're, build on solid rock? I really love that, I guess, that foundation as such. Are you still seeing that today? And is it worse than ever? Coming back to my one of my points at the start when, reading out your bio, and we are in this massive tech revolution and there's a lot of speed, there's a lot of new businesses being built, created. It's like, comes back to like, what's going to last the distance here? Like, we're almost running against each other. Do you know what I mean? And are we actually stopping to ask the questions of what is it that we actually need from the customer? I'll hand it over to you.
But also,
I'm ranting.
Is a little bit like the borehole example. Are we actually fixing something that needs to be fixed with all this technology? And how much damage are we actually doing by creating something and sort of getting people to use it or get addicted to it, through AI models and all the rest of it? And then there are, so if you come back to what I was going to say is, and then the increasing research on this create social problems with all this technology and the addiction to technology. And if you come back to the borehole model, what whilst the boreholes were needed, absolutely needed, what they hadn't also worked out was that the walking to the water was part of their social cohesion. So, at some point during the day, mainly the women and children would get together and walk down to the river and collect the water. And along the way, they collect some firewood, but they'd have a conversation. They'd talk to each other. There was social interaction that occurred during the walking. The walking is good for you as well as not that people living in these villages needed to exercise in the way that us Westerners do, but there was a social cohesion that
And I was about to say, so how do you then combat that? Like, how do you tell? I want to get into this building patient capital. The find the demand first and then build it. Is patient capital and what you're talking around environment and energy and taking time? Like, and especially for the listeners as well, is patient capital quite literally patient capital, or am I completely off my head here and, highlighting how much I still have to learn around, the VC space, and I'm coming in asking a very naive question? Everything you're talking about though suggests that, and I look at problem solving as, it's solution finding, and a problem, you never go problem solve. And so I don't like using the word problem solving because the problem is never the problem. So it's always having to go and find and dig into and ask the questions and explore, and that is patience. That takes time. What is patient capital, and especially for the listeners here that may not have heard that term before, when it comes to building patient capital, finding the demand first, then build it. I got it right. Yeah. Mm, 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 yeah. What do you think, Justin, what do you think where the VC ecosystem space is evolving to? Like when you think about the world at large at the moment and, everything that's going on economically, geopolitically, tech revolution, every day you've got so much happening on the news. We've just had our latest, third time in a row rate increase. Home loan pricing rates increase, I should say. Inflation's off its head. Like, what are you seeing? Is where is it all heading? Like, in terms of what you're talking about here, you said there's no right way or wrong way as such. You must have a point of view though, like in terms of yeah, what is your point of view on it all? Yes. No, I want to hear this. No. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that philosophy and that view. It's a profound, and I knew this was I actually thought this conversation would be more controversial than actually you're just coming out with a really profound point of view in terms of it's just absolutely what we need. It's what the world needs. It's what business needs, society needs, the economy needs. And yet there's this real tension at the moment that just feels like I don't know, it just feels like it feels like we're imploding in a way, and I feel like we have to almost implode to be able to then realize, well, the only way to do this properly and to regenerate versus sustain what we're trying to sustain at the moment because it is not sustainable. And thank you for that, by the way, because you've just made me think about even the way I use sustainable. And I've, for a long that time there, I was using regenerative, and then I was like, oh no, it's too new, I can't use it. And it's like, no, you actually can. And what we actually do need is regenerating full stop, a regenerative economy, business models, you know, businesses full stop, humans, founders, everything, because everything is exhausted, everything's breaking. It's all, quick fixes, band-aids everywhere. So how do we start to I mean, you're doing it clearly. How do we make this become like how do we create more agitation around this so that we can start to really make the imprints we need to make this become something that more people get behind. Like, what is happening besides, like, obviously you're doing it in the VC space. Like, how do you shift this? What is the solution? Is there one yet? Or is it just, like you say, slowing down, doing the due diligence? You can hear me. I get really inspired. I guess I get really emotional, passionate about this because it's just so obvious what we need to do, and yet we're not doing it. Oh, sorry. It makes me laugh because it's just like wild, isn't it? It's wild. 2020. Mm. Yeah, Mm, mm. I love it. It's so true though. Like I'm a bit of a green thumb myself, and I'm a massive green thumb. You should have seen my indoor plant safari when it was COVID, and just the ability to have just greenery everywhere. And it's just this. You see the life of it, and it comes right back to this slowing things down to be able to really see what's with us, what's in our this present moment, right? And I think that we've lost that in a way. So tell me then, what's your big mission? Like obviously, build on solid rock. We've talked about a lot of different, I guess, forward thinking, what we need to do to go forward. And, obviously from a tech perspective, it feels like we're in this tech avalanche, if you like, at the moment. And, AI is going 100 miles an hour. It's scary what social media is doing to children. It can make us, as adults, all of us dumber. Like, what's the anti to all of this? Like, in terms of, I've been talking to different people on the podcast around, are we going to become more anti-tech? Are we going to, is everything that's happening at the moment, is that what's going to force us, if you like, to slow everything down, to have more patient capital, more venture building, where we are taking more time to go, what is right for society, what's right for the economy, what's right for the planet, for example? Is that kind of, yeah, I guess I don't really know what I'm asking you here. I guess it's just what's your view? Like what do you think is what is the world going to look like towards the end of this year versus, you know what I mean? Like I think we're all just holding on at the moment. That's what it feels like. Yeah. No. No. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah. Mm, mm. Yeah, I love it. Yes. No, I love it. Oh my God, you don't even have, I don't have to ask you any more questions, Justin. You just answered it all. And I always say slow down to speed things up. Like that's what you need to do. You slow down and we'll get there. And we need more of that. We need more people like you in the world, fighting the good fight. When you said, you talk about a war, etc. It's about fighting the good fight. Justin, thank you so much for such a great conversation. This was not how I thought our conversation was going to go. I didn't think we'd be like having fisties or anything. I just thought it would be a very different conversation. And it's been really inspiring. And I always, yeah, it's funny, you have these free flowing conversations and look what you learn and look what you get to experience. And a really great takeaway for all the listeners out there, patience is a virtue. It really is around slowing down and really thinking about, regenerative ways of living, being, doing business, everything. And, if you want to, how do we find out more from you, Justin, about your patient capital venture building? Where is best to get in touch with you? Thank you. And I'll share that in the show notes also. Justin, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Absolutely loved our conversation and wishing you all the best. So thank you. Thank you.